What's up everybody, it's me Eric B and welcome back to the channel. Today is the day. I know I've been talking about this for the longest time and I finally got some parts for the old bike here, so let me show you what I got. Alright, so we got some new tires. Gonna be throwing the Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3s on. I was looking at the Dunlop Q3s but decided against that. Read a lot of good reviews on this tire here. Some of my buddies around town ride with them and they seem to be pretty good. So we'll get these on and see how they ride. Okay, and lastly, there we go. Got a chain and a sprocket kit. So I went with the VORTEX, and as you can see here, I decided to go one tooth down in the front. That seems to be a good balance there between getting a little bit more bottom end punch and then still retaining some of my top end. Got the 520 chain here, went with the black one. And then there's a sprocket right there. So stock, my bike is a 1645. Like I said, I went one tooth down, so I went 1545. A lot of guys do the normal, one tooth down and two up in the rear to get a little bit more torque on the bottom. But I wanted to try to retain as much top end as I could, so that is the reason why I went with what I went with. So we'll get this stuff installed, show you guys how I do it, and go from there. So let's do it. Alright, that was fun. Gotta love a good burnout. So what we're gonna do now is get this bike up on jacks. We're gonna get those wheels off, get the tires swapped out, and then start working on the chain and sprocket. What we wanna do first is leave the weight of the bike on the ground so that way we can break the torque on that front sprocket. Just makes life a little easier on you when you're trying to do that. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright guys, real quick, just wanted to show you the main tools that you're gonna need in order to get the job done. You may still need a few tools here and there, a couple of wrenches, but these are just the main items. So you're gonna need a torque wrench, obviously. You're going to want to have a breaker bar to break torque on some of the nuts. You're going to need your ratchet and then a 36mm socket for the rear nut in the back. And then also an axle tool in order to get the front wheel off. And this one's kind of cool because it has different sizes on it as well. If I can get this thing to focus. All right, and for my particular Gixxer, it is a 24mm. And then you're able to get that front wheel off. Then lastly, you're going to need some sort of a chain toolkit. I got the Stockton one here. I know some of the guys use a couple other ones, but this is just the one that I chose. And it comes with everything you need inside in order to break the chain and also rivet the chain when you're all done. So that is the tools that you will need. Alright, so like I said before, while the bike is on the ground, we're going to have to break the torque on the front sprocket. And before we do that, we're going to have to get this cover off, and we're going to have to take the linkage off of the shifter and everything else. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, after we've gotten everything off and we're to the point where we're going to take off the main nut to the front sprocket here, my bike is an older bike. It's a 2005 and I believe this has never been changed out. It may have, who knows, but it looks like it might be a little tough to get this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat it up with a torch just to loosen that nut up a little bit, and then we'll break it. There's a couple ways you could do this. You could have a buddy stand on the rear brake here to hold that down while you do it, or if you're by yourself, you can do the same thing, stand on the other side, kind of push that brake down, and then put this on there, and use your He-Man muscles and break the torque. Alright, so remember lefty loosey, righty tighty. Just like that. That thing broke that easily. One thing I forgot to mention for the front sprocket, you will also need a 32mm socket for that. Now that we got the front sprocket loose, let's go ahead and get this up on jacks and get these wheels off. Okay, so time to get this front wheel off. What you want to do is, while the front wheel is still on the ground, you want to unloosen these two bolts here. There's two on each side of the wheel, and they are 10mm. Once you unloosen those, you will then take your, We'll then take your axle tool here. It's 24 millimeter. Go ahead and slide it in there, break the torque, and then you can jack the bike up, take the axle the rest of the way out, and you should be able to drop the wheel out. Okay guys, just something to note. Do not loosen the 10 millimeter bolts on both sides. Only loosen the 2 on the side that, on the axle side that you're gonna unloosen here. You need to be tight on the other side so that way it holds it, and then you're able to break the torque. And you're probably going to need to remove one or both of the calipers in order to allow the wheel to pass through, because you're not going to be able to get it through without removing that. Just got to get it around the finger. And there you go. First wheel out. All right, after you get the wheel out, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and set the calipers back into the mounting position. That way they're not hanging and there's no tension on the brake lines. Okay, so now that we're getting to the chain and the rear wheel removal and everything, before I start, I want to go ahead and get the chain off. So lucky for me, this has a clip on it, so I don't have to do any grinding or anything for the master link. And then we'll go ahead and get that chain off and get the rear wheel off. All right, so that was pretty simple. Now we're gonna go ahead and break the torque on the rear nut here, get this rear wheel off, and we should be good to go. So this should be pretty straightforward. You just gotta remove the cotter pin, unloosen the nut here, and the wheel should go ahead and slide off. You're gonna have your adjustment brackets here. Not real sure the actual name here. And I think there's gonna be a shim on the inside as well. And you also have to take note of your brake caliper here. So this is my first time removing all this stuff, guys, so I'm kind of going with it as I go. Not sure if that brake caliper is going to stay in place or if it's floating and it may move out once we take the wheel out, but we will find out here shortly. Okay, so just to note, once you get the wheel off, that caliper is gonna fall off. You don't have to let it hang by the hose. It is lightweight, but just to be cautious, you could go on ahead, throw the axle shaft back through there to hold the caliper in place. Okay guys, and like I said, on both sides, you do have some shims here. So here's one, and then you're also gonna have one on the other side as well. So you can see right here, you want to take those out and leave those off to the side, and just take note and remember where those went before you install the wheel again. Okay, so now what we're going to do next is go ahead and get the new rear sprocket on, and we're going to go ahead and break the torque on the nuts. You're going to need a 14 millimeter socket, and then just going ahead and start breaking the torque on that. All right guys, got the new tires on, so they're good to go. I'll get the front wheel on, and then we'll go on ahead and get the rear wheel on and start working on the chain. Okay guys, I'm about to install the front sprocket. So I just pulled off the factory one here, and it is flat on both sides. So this side right here was up against the body of the engine. As you can see, the writing on the sprocket here. So that was the nut side. And then here is the new sprocket. So they always say the rule of thumb is to have the words and the numbers and stuff like that facing outwards. And we're gonna go ahead and do that. And just so you know, I also took 2 sockets that are the same height. I set them, both of these sprockets, on top of there, and kind of compared equally the height of each. So you just want to make sure that, you know, it's going to level up with the stock one, because when you put it on there, you don't want the chain to be uneven or anything like that when you start doing your chain adjustments or anything, because that could be bad. It could put a lot of stress on the chain and then later on give you some heartache. So just be aware of that. Okay, new sprocket going in. Alright guys, here's what we're working with right now. I got the chains out, kind of comparing them side by side here. I got the old factory chain right there, and I got the new VORTEX chain right here. So the factory one was about 110 links, that's including the master link, and the new one is 112 with the master link. So what I'm gonna have to do is take a couple of links out. According to the little calculator I did online with my Sprocket setup, it's saying that I need the same amount of links, or the same amount of links as the factory chain. Don't know how true that is. I'm also gonna put it on the bike and kind of line it up to see, you know, where I want it, and then I'll go ahead and go from there. Okay, so I got the chain on the bike, and pretty much what I said before. I'm just gonna take these two links out right here, and then connect the master link, and then we should be good to go. So it does give me enough space to play with and everything when I do the adjustment. All right guys, so I got the chain breaker toolkit on right now. I'm using the one from Stockton. The more common one that a lot of guys use is the one from Motion Pro, but this one was a little bit cheaper and it still provides the same end result. All right guys, so I'm getting ready to install the master link, and a good tool to have is a micrometer. That'll allow you to make sure that you have enough width here. So like if the current link that's on there right now, I'm reading 1.72, and then once you tighten up the and rivet in the master link there, you kind of want to make sure you're on the same track as the other link so you don't go too far. Okay, so I've taken this tool, I've pressed the rivets through. As you can see right here, just went ahead and press them through, and that's what that micrometer is good for, because you are able to measure what the measurement is on one of the current links that's on there, and then basically measure that link to make sure that it's the same as the others. You can eyeball it, like I said before, but using a micrometer is a lot better. So I was at 1.72. I was at 1.8 on this one, so I had to back it out, you know, check it, and then put it back on, press it some more, and then now it's exactly 1.72 with the other ones. So now all I got to do is rivet it down, or I should say flare these two pins here, and then we're good to go. Alright guys, what a day. Finally got everything on and installed. All I got left is to torque down the nut on the front sprocket and do the chain adjustment. So once all that's good to go, we'll take her out for a test ride. And there she is. Got her all done. You guys can see the tires on there. Looking right. Oh yeah. As you can see the VORTEX sprocket there with the black chain. I kind of wish I would have went with the gold. I think that would have stuck out a little bit better with the bike, but black is all that they had with the kit, so it is what it is. I'll go with that. It still looks pretty decent, but let me know what you guys think. I don't know how close up you guys can actually see that with the wide view of the GoPro. But yeah, I think it looks good. So far, just riding it up the street here, feels pretty good. I'm sure the chain will have to stretch a little bit. But other than that, let's get out on the road and test it out. All right, guys, moment of truth. Oh man, yes. Yes, that is nice. Wow. All right, so like I said before, I went down 1 tooth in the front because I still wanted to maintain some top end, but gain a little bit more on the bottom end, and that is just right. Holy moly, it's not too insane, but I do notice a difference, and it feels good. The gain is nice. It's not super crazy or anything, but you do notice it. All right, so that's a nice little upgrade there. Not too bad at all. Okay, so I think I didn't really pay attention to my revs. I'm in 6th gear right now, and I didn't pay attention to my revs when I had the stock chain on. it does sound like I'm revving a little bit higher than usual. And then I wanted to do the GPS to see if there is a difference in the speed, which I knew there would be. So right now I'm riding about 62 on the bike, and the GPS is saying I'm going about 54. Let's do 70. Nice even number here. So right now GPS is saying I'm about 10 miles per hour off, but I don't know how accurate that is, because to tell you the truth, at 6,000 RPM I would usually be at about 68, 69 miles per hour, and now that's how I always knew I was in 6th gear. So going down 1 tooth in the front, I don't know how much that throws the speedometer off. Also, the torque increase on the bottom is only about 6%. I could definitely tell a little bit higher note riding at this RPM. Not a bad upgrade. So if you guys are looking to do this upgrade for your bike, definitely go for it. If you still want to retain some of your top speed, if you're not doing 150, 160 miles an hour on the reg, you know, losing a little bit on the top end isn't going to be bad, just to get a little bit more on the bottom. All right, guys, I hope this was enjoyable and you learned something from it. For some of you that are planning to do the chain upgrade and everything like that on your Gixxer, if you guys got any comments or questions, just leave me a comment below. Please like and subscribe, guys, if you're new to the channel. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.